welcome back to the Route Setting for Home Walls series. In this episode, we're actually going to be setting a pretty cool feature to a home wall. It's a combination of an idea that I got from McColl, professional climber McColl, many years ago. I read an article from McColl about this concept that I'm going to show you guys, and I adapted it for a home wall or really any bouldering wall, and I'm pretty excited about it. So this concept that we're going to be setting on our home wall is for stamina. I'm going to talk a little bit about the article that I read many years ago when he was training for the sport climbing in the IFSC, and he called it the mangrove tree. And I'll put a picture of a mangrove tree right up here. But a mangrove tree, essentially, the roots actually are above ground partially, and so it looks like these tendrils going down, and then the trunk, and then the branches going out. And so in the article from McColl, he was training with the French national climbing team. Their coach had set a mangrove, which is basically all these different branches that come up into a center hold, kind of a shakeout hold, more of a central hold, and then they branch off into all these other different routes. And essentially what happens is, just with that route setting right there, they had 16 different combinations of routes that they could work on, because you'd have 4 different branches on the lower half of the sport climb, you'd meet in the central, and then you'd have 4 different branches on the top half. The adaptation to this is something that I came up with, and so that's what I'm actually going to be diagramming for you here, and then we're going to go ahead and set it on the climbing wall. And I want to put thought into each of these routes, because I want them to be the right mix. I don't want them to be too easy, I don't want them to be too hard. With those 16 different combinations that I'm going to be setting here, what I wanted to be able to do is have sessions where I see how many of those 16 I can complete. I'll do a route, one of the 16 combinations, then I'll rest an appropriate amount of time, and then I'll just keep going and try to get through as many as I can. So I flipped you around here, and now we are facing the 15-degree wall. So what I want to draw your attention to is the yellow hold that is central right there. That yellow hold is key to this concept. Earlier I was mentioning this mangrove tree concept, and in the center of these sport climbs was a center hold, kind of a nice, comfortable hold that if they need to, they can shake out on and things like that. This yellow hold is going to operate as that center hold. I've got this mounted in the center of my wall and at a good spot for being about a sit start. And as you can see here, I have an identical hold just like it. So nice and comfy, 2 hands, all that good stuff. So the key to this then is I have 2 identical holds, and I'm going to put this version of the hold straight up to the top of my wall, directly above this hold. All right, so now that I have that hold up there, I just want to demonstrate the concept for you. I haven't set any other pieces of the route except for those 2 holds. You can start at 4 different places across the bottom here, and they're all going to converge on that top yellow hold. And then immediately drop from that top hold, and don't rest. Obviously you got to catch yourself with your feet for a second, but don't rest. Jump right on to the bottom version. You can even choose to shake out at the top, then drop down, quick jump on, and then shake out there, because again, that's what that center hold is meant for. So I'm going to match this, position my feet, maybe shake out if I need to, drop down quick, and immediately get back on the wall. So I'm not really resting, I'm immediately back on the wall, and then I'll finish off breaking the hold. Well, that wasn't planned, but I broke the hold. So, and I only have 2 of these. So that means I have to turn this into a screw-on hold, because I do still want to use it. I still want to make it work, but I got to turn this beast into a screw-on hold. Blew the back out. You weren't expecting that. So I'm going to repurpose this into a screw-on hold. Probably 4 different screws here, maybe even more. And then I'm going to actually swap this. I'm going to put this up at the top of the wall, and then I'm going to swap it out with the other one down at the lower part. All right, I'm pretty pleased with that. So now we're going to go ahead and put this on the wall. All right, so this is where I want it. Don't want to tighten them too hard because then I'll just break the plastic again, but I think this is going well. All right, that feels pretty solid. Now the moment of truth, we're gonna see if it holds body weight. Stay out of the way, Gavin, because it might break again.
Looks pretty good.
Solid. That was a success. It holds weight, and so we moved that up to the top hold as I mentioned before, and now we're gonna put the other one, which hopefully will not blow out, and we're gonna put that back on the bottom. So we use a good old-fashioned T-wrench, old school way. And let's make sure this one doesn't blow through. If it does, we're out of luck here. Alright. Since you've been gone, I've done a little bit of work on some preparation for the route setting for the actual different branches of the tree. So let me show you what we've done so far. As we saw just a little bit ago, we have identical holds, that yellow one there and that yellow one there, just directly above and below each other. So what I've done is I've thrown on some tape. I'm going to be using white for everything on this stamina tree. So we're going to have 4 starting holds evenly spaced around here. And like I said before, all those starting holds are going to converge up to that top hold. So we're going to use that nice comfy one right there, that green one. This black one, it's kind of an edge, but pretty comfy, 2 hands. Got this kind of slopey one. And then we've got this red one here that's a little bit more of a side pull. I've also predetermined the finish holds up near the top for the last half. So the last half of the tree, or the top half of the tree, one of the finishes is going to be up there on that edge. This green hold right here, which is oriented in kind of a pinch finish. Got this bulbous one here. That one's going to be kind of interesting because, as you can see, it comes up near the ceiling, so you have to be a little bit precise, otherwise you're going to scrape some knuckles. And then we've got an edge up here in the gray. So now all I have to do is all of the stuff in between. But what I'm going to do for you guys here is I'm going to show you the naming schema. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to throw up tape for the holds, starts, and finishes, and then we'll go from there. So now that we have the tape up for the starting holds and the ending holds, we're going to do some marking here. So I have a pretty cool, unique naming schema that I like to use. On the bottom halves, what we're going to do is we're going to do ace, king, queen, and jack, respectively. And then on the top halves, we're going to do spades, hearts, clubs, diamonds, or something like that, some order like that. So we're going to do the ace, king, queen, jack, and then we're going to do the suits from a traditional deck of cards, and that's how we're going to name these combinations. So cool thing about that is then you can grab a deck of cards and shuffle them up, and you can have a randomizer. So we got double letters for the ace, the king, the queen, and the jack, and then I'll write ace, king, queen, jack, A, K, Q, J across that piece of tape right there. Then on the bottom half, we're going to use the suits, and so I'm going to do the spades, hearts, clubs, diamonds for the bottom portion, and then each of the respective finish holds. But the next thing I want to show you is another little thing that I'm going to make sure I do, and that is to make sure that this is as uniform as possible. When I finish up there and drop down, I want to be able to start as close as possible to the same position. So what's kind of cool about this is from this hold here, I measured down to that foothold and that foothold that I anticipate using. They're kind of square on. It is about 40 inches. And so I did the same measurement from here down to 40 inches, and it really lands like right about here and right about here. And so what I'm going to end up doing is throwing on some screw-on footholds that can basically make that as close to exact as possible. So when I get to the top of the first section and I'm about to drop down, I'm going to kind of position my feet there as like a reset, and then I'll drop down and I'll have a very similar position down here. While you were away, I did some of the route setting for this stamina tree here. So I've done 3 of those. The goal of today's session is to set the remaining 5. So let me show you what I got so far. So I've set the ACES route. So there's ACE, and then it's going to follow those specific handholds, and then I've got a couple designated footholds here, the skinny tape. Other than those designated footholds and the skinny tape, these routes are just tracking, so you have to follow your footholds with the handholds that you used previously. So ACE's route is going to kind of go up and right and meet up in that center, obviously, and some pretty cool moves there. I've also set the jack route. So here's the jack's route here. Got a 2-handed start, and then the jack route comes up and then kind of left and up and then up and then back over there. So I've got 2 first halves, and then remaining I'm going to do the king route and the queen route. And so I've so far set the clubs route. So it starts here, kind of comes up to that pocket and that pinch there, and up to the crimp, and then up to that bulbous thing there. All right, so I think I've got the holds picked out for the queen route, and we're just going to kind of tweak it. Again, keep in mind that I do want these routes to be doable right away. I don't want them to be project routes, things that I can't even do, because they're going to be just parts of a stamina circuit. I want to make sure that they're doable, and so I might need to do some tweaking if they're too hard. So we're just going to give this a little forerun for the queen route. Yeah, so that's a little bit too hard already, I can tell. So my idea was solid, but just a little bit too hard at this point. Alright, so I think I just discovered what I want to do. Ends up making it pretty crimpy, so that's where I'm a little bit wanting to know if that's what I want to do. But I think I'm going to start on the sloper, come up to this crimp here. It's really shallow. Up to this crimp here. Get some high feet to this slopey dish. Either bump up and left or cross over. Yeah, I think I like that. So it's crimpy and got a little bump move, so that's going to be the queen route. So I'm going to go ahead and tape it now. For the king route here, I'm going to do things a little bit differently. In the previous routes, I kind of chose a path and maybe even used some of the holds that were already on the wall for inspiration or thoughts on what to do. On this one, I want to do it mainly based on holds or hold style. So I want to be inspired by the holds. So I went over to the hold bin and I found this classic here. I believe it's Metolius. Yeah, classic Metolius shape here. It's like a pinch, nice comfy pinch here. So I was kind of inspired by this pinch for one of the moves. And so I'm gonna go to the hold bin and try to find some good complementary holds. I'm thinking this one here. I wanted to use this one earlier, but I didn't really have a spot for it, but it's got like this nice slopey edge here, nice thumb catch here. I'm thinking that could be a good pinch for a right hand. So I think we're gonna use that one. Yeah, I kind of like that one. It's got these little dimples here for fingers. If I just do it really straight up and down, it's not too juggy on the top, so I don't really want to catch it like that. I really want to catch it like a pinch. So, yeah, I think I like that one. Now I think we have the king route set. Haven't even run it yet, but I think I'm gonna like it. It's again based on a particular hold type. So we've got some pinches. So it starts off on this rail here, and then it's gonna come up to this nice comfy pinch, slopey kind of pinch, another pinch that's got these dimples on it, and then that'll finish on the hold. So I think I figured out which footholds I want. I'm gonna want this one right here, the two starting ones that I use, and then this one right here. I think that's sufficient. The king route is done. Now we're gonna go ahead and throw some tape on it. So now we're gonna go with the hearts, which is the bottom half route. It's gonna obviously start here. And I've again gone with the concept of choosing holds that inspire me. And so we're going with a sloper themed route here. So nice slopers here and nice sloper routes. The idea of this route is to use the slopers in a kind of cool movement fashion. So it's going to work its way from here over to here, going to fall into this sideways facing sloper, bump up to the more direct facing sloper, then get your feet up high, and it's kind of a lunge for that finish hold. Now what I might end up doing, this is just a thought I'm having right now off the top of my head, is I might end up moving that finish hold over to the left a little bit, and here's why. Because I got this A-frame beam right here, and if I'm kind of lunging this way, I don't want this to be an injury thing. So I might try to make it more straight up, so I might move it one Tina over to the left, but we're gonna go ahead and give it a C here. Safer on that one. So that is the heart route. Over to the sloper here. Walk your feet over. Got that foothold there. You're gonna eventually get that slopey foothold there. You're gonna bump, bump, and kind of a lurch for that pretty good edge up there. And then match. Alright, so while you guys were away, I set the last two routes. So I set the diamond route, which starts again at that hold there. And this is kind of a movement style, not necessarily a hold style, but a movement style. So this is some Gastons. So it's a right hand Gaston here, and a left hand Gaston here, and a right hand Gaston on this really thin one. It's got a little thumb catch, but it's definitely going to be a Gaston move, and then finish on that green hold. And then the spades route starts here, and this one traverses left first. So left, left, and it doesn't leave you with much foot. So you got that little foot though there and the two starting feet there. So this is actually forcing a kind of a heel hook, or using the foot on the starting hold here to pull you up into this kind of, we'll call it a right leaning hold. So I want my body leaning right, and then to this kind of pockety, pinchy, so kind of a Hueco kind of feel hold, and then finishing up at the top. We now have the entire stamina tree set. So here I've overlaid two photos of the climbing wall. This essentially shows how tall the climb becomes when you match in the middle. Thank you so much for joining me with this journey on the stamina tree that I've set. Don't forget to check for this video in the training series coming real soon. And if you're liking this content, would you consider clipping the chains on that subscribe button? I'll see you guys in future videos.